Disney Quest is simply a topic that just doesn't get talked about enough, in my opinion, and it's honestly kind of a big deal as far as Disney Springs go, as because Disney Quest was kind of the big reason to go to Disney Springs. You know, if you went to Disney Springs for the day, it's pretty clear that you would probably go to Disney Quest as well. Now, if you don't know what Disney Quest is, to put it in simple terms, it's basically like a super advanced and huge arcade that Disney opened in June of 1998, and it closed in July of 2017. Now, I only got to experience Disney Quest once in my life, and that's whenever I was a bit younger, so I don't really remember it too exactly from my personal memory, but I have seen many videos of it and a lot of what it had to offer, and I do remember some of the attractions that they had there, and Disney Quest was honestly quite the impressive place, especially just to kind of spend, a short time at Disney Springs, and then stop by Disney Quest. It was a very cool place, and it had a lot of really cool references and attractions and video games that you could play and just experience that involved a lot of the cool Disney characters. Not only that, but it also kind of involved other video games such as like Mario Bros, as you see here, and a couple other things that are not really exactly Disney based, which is kind of a cool mix between the two. And they also had different attractions, kind of like simulator rides that I guess you would find at like Universal or something, like a virtual jungle cruise, which is really cool. And I was lucky enough to actually experience this whenever I was there. And it's just kind of a little advanced arcade machine basically. But for the time that it opened, this was something that was truly incredible and really unlike anything anybody's ever seen at any kind of arcade before. And there was also even like a little Pirates of the Caribbean style attraction that was in the same style as the Jungle Cruise, except it was themed to Pirates of the Caribbean, which was really cool. And there's just a lot of different other attractions here that they kind of had that were based off Disney movies and Disney parks, that you can just kind of stop by here because Disney Springs is a place for that you don't really have to pay much to get into it at all. It's mainly just like a big shopping center that's Disney themed, and Disney Quest was basically kind of like a miniature theme park. It was like a little indoor carnival to say the least, with a bunch of arcade games, and they even had some bumper cars themed to like Buzz Lightyear and stuff like that. It was really cool. Alas, like every good thing as it seems, Disney decided to close it down and replace it with the NBA experience in the summer of 2017. Now, from what I remember from personal experience at this news, it wasn't really talked about a whole lot. There was, of course, like always, a little bit of controversy between, Disney Quest closing down and being replaced with something like the NBA Experience. However, there was some people that I think actually did want the NBA Experience because they thought Disney Quest was just too outdated, too old school. It wasn't really advanced and fun anymore, especially compared to what arcades, down the street would offer these days. You go to like a Main Event or something, or like a Dave and Buster's or something, and you can find these simulator rides that honestly might be even more advanced than what Disney Quest had to offer. But at the same time, that's kind of what made Disney Quest special. It was very advanced for its time. I mean, it opened up in the late 90s, early 2000s, and for what they had there, that was a one of a kind thing. Not many arcades at all had stuff like this until, these big franchise arcades like Dave and Buster started coming into every single town and, providing these different attractions. Disney Quest was really a one of a kind thing, so I can understand where Disney was coming from when deciding to close down Disney Quest and replacing it with something that nobody else had to offer, which was an NBA experience. However, unfortunately, if you've been kind of keeping up with the progress of Disney Springs as a whole, you know that the NBA experience was not exactly the way to go. So what exactly was the NBA experience? Well, from the short time that it was around, we kind of got to understand that this was sort of a, little bit of a cool little thing involving the NBA where you got to kind of feel like you were a pro athlete, playing in these basketball games and stuff like that. And I believe it was about $35 to get in, and you got to kind of like shoot some hoops and stuff like that. But this, it was just an instant failure. I mean, there's really not much to say about it. I mean, it literally opened and then in less than a year it closed. Now, granted, COVID did happen like as soon as it opened, but a lot of things stayed open at Disney whenever the park started to open back up, and NBA Experience was not one of them, and that's just because of the poor attendance it had from the start. Now, keep in mind, whenever it did open, COVID wasn't exactly a thing just yet, so it's not the fact that COVID was the reason why NBA Experience failed. It was just not really that popular to begin with. I mean, you paid $35 to get in, and it was just basketball. There wasn't really much else to offer. I feel like if Disney was going to do a sports themed sort of experience, because I feel like a sports themed experience would have been really cool, and a lot of people could have enjoyed it more if they would have done mini sports. Have basketball, soccer, baseball. All those different kind of sports. Even more some like other ones like hockey or something would have been cool to have in this super large building. But they only based it around the NBA and basketball. which already limits how many people actually kind of want to do this, because not everybody likes basketball. But if you have multiple different sports involved in this, then anybody can come and enjoy this, because there has to be some kind of sport that somebody might like. So that alone kind of already risks this not being the best hot ticket at Disney Springs anymore, especially compared to what Disney Quest was. The other thing is that, it just wasn't that impressive, compared to what Disney Quest had to offer originally. They had many variety of different things that you can go and do. This was just like shooting hoops, and it was just, pretending like you're an athlete at basketball or something. It just wasn't really the most exciting thing, because honestly, if you think about it, any kid can go into their front yard and pretend like they're an athlete at basketball and shoot hoops or go to the park or something like that. It's not something that's worth paying over $30 per person to get into. And so now, like I said, the NBA experience closed literally under a year from its opening, so clearly it was a bit of a failure after spending a lot of money and time on this experience to try and get it to be as cool as it can be. It was just always destined to be a flop, like many other things are nowadays. Honestly, what I think they should have done, and what many people probably agree with, is that they should have just updated Disney Quest. I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty outdated, which kind of added to the charm of it, but it was still outdated. I mean, there's no lying about that. Like I said, you can go to any arcade and find what Disney Quest had back then. But they should have definitely updated it. We all know that Disney is capable of doing really cool and advanced things. And I just feel like, if they would have spent the money and time to add more stuff to Disney Quest, take away some of the older attractions, and add something that we've just really have never seen before, such as like the roller coaster thing where you get to make your own roller coaster or something, that could have been really, really cool. But now that the NBA experience is closed, the future of that space is to now become a Star Wars virtual reality attraction, which I feel like that alone would have been pretty cool to see in Disney Quest, and something that it could have been a very advanced experience. Now, why are they just not opening up Disney Quest again? Personally, I think it's just because they don't want to admit that they're wrong, like how Disney always is. They're very stubborn at some points. And so I just feel like they're trying to just use that space for different things. Now, honestly, I do think that the Star Wars virtual reality will do better than the NBA experience, just because it's a bit more of a, attraction where many more people I feel like will enjoy it. But like I said, I think the thing that made Disney Quest special was just because of the variety of different attractions and things that you can do there, and how many different characters there were. There was some non-Disney characters there too that people could enjoy, and I just feel like overall it was kind of a wasted potential to close it. But anyways, guys, those are my reasons for why I think the NBA experience and, just the whole closing down Disney Quest thing was one of the worst ideas that Disney has ever done. It might not even be an attraction or ride that somebody was, really emotionally attached to, such as like Splash Mountain or Tower of Terror or something like that, but I think it was still a really cool experience overall that the whole family could enjoy and have something to do there, and, just kind of have a little getaway without having to spend an arm and a leg to get into the Disney parks. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Tell me down in the comments below, what do you think of this whole thing? What do you think of the new Star Wars virtual reality attraction opening in that same space? Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.